Hello, and welcome to another episode of Automate Office Work. I'm your host, Justin. Today's topic is AI is not the answer to everything. And I'm very lucky to be joined today by a guest, Michael. Michael, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Justin. As you already said, I am Michael. I'm head of legal operations at the international IT service provider of a global discount retailer. And a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I slipped into legal operations. And like you, I have a background in law. Was a legal counsel beforehand, but now I do something I enjoy a little more than drafting and reviewing contracts. I'm in legal operations now.
That's interesting. How long were you in law and when did you make the switch?
Um, a little over 10 years, really, was my career as an in-house lawyer. And during that time, I did a lot of general, gave a lot of general legal advice, but always negotiated and reviewed contracts. I also had some contract management experience on the way. Um, but most of the time I did contract negotiations. And then when I joined my current employer, I started here as the in-house legal counsel, also did contract negotiations for quite some time. And then I switched roles into legal operations a little more than 3 years ago, took over the team here internally, built it up from scratch. And the good thing is that since I did the work of my colleagues before, I know the processes, I know kind of the pain that they're feeling and how I might be able to make work life a little easier for them.
That's very important. So you know the problems that you're trying to
Yeah,
solve.
yeah. And some of them are still the same than they were when I was experiencing them firsthand.
Hmm. So
So,
tell us what legal operations does. Not
ooh,
everybody is going to be familiar with this term.
I always say legal operations, everything that supports giving efficient legal advice. And it's a very broad topic, and it can be different from organization to organization. Um, it goes from external spend management um, to automating things, but then always like focusing on processes, making processes more efficient. It can be different topics, as I already said, depending on what the organization needs. Can include stuff like legal design, so things that you wouldn't necessarily learn in law school, so you don't need a legal background to do that, but it helps to understand the problems of your main stakeholders, your legal colleagues, because you are, or like I see it, I am, together with my team, the internal service provider of the legal department.
Mhm,
So I help them to do their work better and in a more efficient way.
mhm. I also worked in a legal operations capacity at a large corporation, and after being in-house counsel myself as well.
Yeah.
So yes, I know the drive that after you've done it a while, you know how to get the legal answers. It's kind of the same thing. There's a pattern to it. So yeah, I wasn't really concerned about the exact answer in the end. I was concerned with how. How do we get to the answer? I don't care
Mhm.
if it's black or white, but how do we get there and how do we do it the most efficient way? And let's do it quickly.
Yeah.
Ah. So did you have a computer background or a technical background growing up?
No, I didn't. And it's it's no, it's interesting. I mean, the first process that I automated because I didn't want to do it manually anymore. I took my not existing technical background and the best idea I came up with it was um, take an Excel spreadsheet and do it there. And so it was really the lowest level of any
Uh,
kind of technical approach that you could imagine, but it worked. It did
are
the
you talking
job.
about Are you talking about formulas in a spreadsheet or
Yeah,
macros?
correct. I mean, at the end of the day, what I did was then I always had similar cases where I needed to assess like is it legally compliant to deploy external personnel, and you have certain criteria that you want to check. All right, and so I always checked those criteria, and then I got to a certain result. But then I did the work with a colleague of mine, and someday we were discussing and then saying, I cannot really recall anymore why I gave this answer 6 months ago. I just have the very same request here. I should give the same answer. I'm not really sure on what basis I came to the conclusion that thumbs up or thumbs down. And then I was kind of like, that's stupid. We need to get consistency here. So why not program the Excel sheet to give the answer towards the question? Then say, okay, build in a threshold, like the answer is good or bad. Is it 3 points or 1 point or stuff like that? You then get a result, and if it's above 10 points, it's okay, and it's below 10 points, it's not okay. And that was kind of what we then did. We just always asked the same questions, put them into the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet gave us always the same answers if the answer was yes or no. And that kind of evolved to a fully automated process that we're doing right now, not in Excel anymore, but that was the first step. And it was also kind of the last task I did as a legal counsel, because after that, I took over the legal operations team. And then I realized, hey, you did legal operations there. I didn't even know what it was, but I was doing it. And then it became my job to do stuff like that.
Wow, that's inspiring. So let's connect this to why AI is not the answer to everything. Like what you just described, this kind of a process. I can imagine that a lot of people listening, their question would be, can't I just use AI? Can't I just ask the AI, can you create the process? Or just tell me the answer. Will it be consistent?
No. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's maybe one of the biggest misconceptions that people have with regards to AI. I mean, as you already said, AI is one of the tools that we're having in our toolbox, but it's not the tool that you can fix everything with. And if you want consistent answers, AI is the wrong tool, because if you're unlucky, it will not give you consistent answers. Type the same prompt into ChatGPT 2 times in a row, and you might get different results. That's how AI works, and it will never work in a different way. The way automation works is it will always give you the same result if you type in the same questions or whatever. So the consistency is what you get when you use automation. AI is good for other use cases.
Can we use AI as kind of like a sparring partner when we're trying to come up with those criteria? Like, what if I'm not sure what the criteria should be? Could I ask ChatGPT what it thinks?
I mean, you could, but in the use case that I was describing, maybe you should be careful with that, because at the end of the day, if you want to ask, okay, what are the criteria that I should assess if I want to get to a certain result? AI can surely give you hints, but you have to double check if they are just made up or if they are correct. But from my perspective, AI works good as a sparring partner, and then kind of say, okay, I want to do a certain thing. Can you help me describe me the way to get there? Because I'm not creative enough, or don't have the technical background I need to come up with something. That would be something that I would say, okay, use AI for that. It can point you into the right direction, but not more than that.
I often tell people, use AI as inputs, not an output.
Yeah.
So it's great to help you spark your imagination, but don't just take what it gives you.
Yeah.
Use that as a beginning point. It don't just stop thinking. It's the start of thinking.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, we are, of course, evaluating of how we can make use of artificial intelligence. We're not against it, as we just discussed. It's one tool in your toolbox, and you should use it probably for what it's good for. So when we're talking about what I'm doing with my team, we have a lot of self-service that we set up, and often those self-service are automated. But then what we are trying to do right now is using AI to give the self-service a better user experience. Like, for example, if I'm doing an automated search, people always need to type in certain terms in order for the automation to find things. And now we're trying to improve that user experience by saying you can basically type in whatever you want. There is an AI that will try to understand in which direction you're going and then provide you with examples for like terms that you might be searching. So just combine the two things and then let them all do the part of the work that they're best at.
Mm-hmm. I like this. I also get the feeling from your criteria that you came up with. You could present that to the user as like a form, and some users might be fine with this experience of filling in a form. Another user might say, no, I want a conversation with somebody. And so you might say, yeah, make an appointment with the lawyers. They're very busy, so it's going to be in 2 weeks that you do it. Or we have an AI that will also have a conversation here with you. But now we have a script of what the AI is going to go through with you. And it's basically the same conversation as filling in these categories.
Yeah.
So I think that could reduce hallucinations from an AI. Tell it exactly what you're trying to get.
Yeah, like you described it. I mean, then you are putting in the effort, setting up those guardrails. You can make sure that people are still adhering to what you want them to do, but you do it once. And then afterwards, you can just trust that the system you set up works and does the job for you. And I mean, that's kind of where we want to end and get our colleagues to understand that, okay, you need to put in the effort at the beginning. Mm-hmm. On top of what you're currently doing, you're still doing the grind, you're in your daily business. Okay, but believe me, if you put in the effort now, you will have less work to do later.
It's an investment.
Yeah.
And you're getting a multiplier of the benefits.
Yeah, true.
Wow. We could take this down like multiple different things. Like you told me you're first. How do you get inspiration for which things to automate?
Most of the time, I get the inspiration when I'm talking about other legal operations colleagues or people who are into legal tech or people like you who are doing operation. I mean, we obviously got in touch or wouldn't be on your podcast. And then I see, okay, he's doing this and that, or he came up with something I wouldn't have even thought about. And you can always kind of get inspired by that. And as long as your work is not copyright protected, I will just steal it and grab it and then say, all right, I can do something similar. Mm-hmm. He came up with a great idea. Maybe I can do the same thing. Maybe I can do it in a different way. Maybe I can tweak it in the way that my organization needs it. Or I can say, I just take this as an inspiration and come up with something new. For example, I've had a look at a couple of the projects that you did, and you did a DEY calendar. Maybe you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And we are also looking at a kind of a calendar function and something that we're doing. It's not about DIY topics, but it's with regards to a calendar. And then we were saying, okay, maybe we can take this approach and then take the parts from it that we need and set up something similar, because it will give us more features and functionality than what we actually came up with. We would have had a calendar, right? But you can do more with that, and you can just kind of set it up like you did. So it doesn't have to be the exactly same solution or task, but it can be based on what somebody else already did.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Mm-hmm. I always think that there are infinite ways to actually solve a problem.
Yeah.
As long as the underlying process is being done right, to me, it doesn't matter what technology is being used. You could use, I don't know, hamsters like running on a wheel, and like as long as that works, it works.
Yeah.
We can use Excel spreadsheets. We can use AI. You can use a person doing some manual work. As long as it works and it makes sense, like it might make sense to keep something manual if a person feels like they're giving value and they have a relationship with a person. And especially if they're like, if they cost like 1% of the cost of AI, right? We don't need to automate absolutely everything. Like, what if it costs $1 million a week to like run some AI? Or you can just leave it manual and let a secretary who feels good about their work. You have endless possibilities, and we use what works.
Yeah.
So if I often think if we go straight to AI, that means you are blind to all the other possibilities.
Yeah, and often those possibilities are already there. I mean, currently a lot of companies or law firms or whatever will have implemented some kind of AI because we're further down the road. But on the other hand, they will also have a lot of other tools that they're just sitting on that they could utilize. It does not have to be the newly implemented AI tool where everybody feels like, oh, I don't know if that's really working because it's new. But you're sitting on things that you've had for, I don't know, decades maybe. You just need to make use of it. Perfect example, like all those Microsoft solutions that you're sitting on. You can do a lot with them. Your organization is paying license fees for them anyway, so make the best use of it. In a legal operations event I was at, somebody said an interesting sentence, and it was, Microsoft owns a lawyer's desktop. I mean, really, which solutions are lawyers using to do most of their work? Guess what? So, I mean, and why not think that a little further? And why not work in that environment that you're already working in to do other things with it?
I love this approach because you're getting as close as you can to where the lawyer does the work.
Yeah.
And then they get to stay there. They don't need to switch to some other like bunch of applications. It's difficult for the human brain to switch.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Justin in the future, just stepping in to let you know that we decided to take out a section of a few minutes of us discussing Michael's current projects, just for the sake of privacy. So please don't feel too jarred, but we're going to skip those, and then we'll discuss some of the general things about those scenarios. Thank you, and enjoy. Yeah, I see several topics that we could go down.
Yeah.
I like that you just described a scenario where you had continuous improvement.
Yeah.
It was iterative. So whatever our solutions are, they are not the destination necessarily. It's like a stepping stone that gets us higher. And maybe then you have a better view of things and you have organized data. So you're able to see the patterns. Yeah. And then possibly, maybe you bring in AI in the future after you have a lot of historical data that it can see and it knows patterns, right?
Yeah.
But also there's a paradox here. Once you have all of that in place, you actually don't need the AI at all. So it's funny because AI needs it, but then once you have it, you don't need AI.
Yeah. If it works without, why should you
Yeah,
then
why
bring
not?
AI in? And the thing that I also like about the iterative approach is, I mean, we're always talking about things that lead to a solution. The important thing from my perspective is that if you don't invest uh, a lot of time to work on a project, it's easier to fail. If you implement something that is just an MVP and you see it doesn't work, well, it doesn't matter because you
Hmm.
did not invest so much time and effort into it, but you learn from that failure and you can do it differently the next time. If you work on a solution for a longer period of time, you invest a lot of time and effort, and if that fails, then yeah, it's a different topic.
Hmm.
So doing things different or iteratively has yeah, several pros, especially if you're working in a tech savvy IT organization. Um, from my perspective, there's another benefit, especially as a lawyer. You always want to kind of speak the same language as your customers, and they will always think, "Ooh, those lawyers, what are they talking about? They're sitting in their ivory tower." If you kind of can tell them, okay, we are speaking your language, or we are doing things in a similar way than you are doing them. We are working on those things iteratively, like you are developing your software. Then they will be able to
Ah.
listen to you a little more.
I see this when I speak with different legal departments in different corporations. They
Yeah,
all speak the language of the broader company. Like I was speaking with a very large furniture company, and they were talking about their processes as being a set of instructions to put things together. That's
yeah,
exactly what their
good.
company does.
Yeah,
Or I was talking with another company that does like sports clothing, and shoes, and they talked about how they wanted they wanted to be like a coach to the rest of their business and to
yeah,
help discipline them and really make them efficient so that they could like go score the goal. So yeah, this is great. Speak the language of your people.
yeah, yeah,
I'm also hearing from you that you need to know your problem in order to find the solution. You cannot just go buy the best AI solution because you don't even know what your problem is.
yeah,
It's not going to be a magic wand.
yeah. I mean, and that's also what's then creating frustration because people thought, oh, if we have this tool, it will solve all of our problems. And then it doesn't. But not
No.
because, I mean, you just did not put in the effort to really evaluate what the problem is you're trying to solve. And then you need to do that first. And then you can find the suitable tool or solution for that. Or you can even say, we will not solve this problem with any tool. It might be a mindset thing or stuff like that. Or
Mhm.
it might be a process. So you
Uh-huh.
need to work on the process.
Uh-huh.
You know, you will not change a bad process with a good tool. And so you always start with thinking about what the problem is and
Mhm.
then find the right tool to solve it.
I did a post about this on LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
somebody from Microsoft came, and they left. There was a quote from Bill Gates that they left on mine, and it said like exactly what you just said. It said something like you cannot. It said if you apply technology to a bad process, you're multiplying chaos. But if you simplify the process first and then you bring in technology, it's much better.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly as you said, and then like it's getting perceived better because otherwise, people who were skeptic beforehand, they will say, "See, I told you," and it's not really the fault of I don't know that you try to solve things with technology or stuff like that. It's just that you took the wrong approach to solve the problem.
I'm thinking about wrapping up, but I'm wondering about your journey and how other people can go down a similar path. You started out not doing technology; you were just doing your basic legal work.
Yeah.
But then you started doing this on your own without being told by your boss. It wasn't your job to do this. It sounds to me like you were recognized for your skills and they created this position for you, or am I wrong? Did they create the position and you applied to it?
Yeah, it was the latter. I mean, they
Okay.
created the position. I applied to it, but obviously, people must have realized that I might be a good match for the solution because of the things I did beforehand. So it was kind of the position wasn't created for me, but I was lucky that I, yeah, kind of showed myself in a way that I did, but also that I could imagine to do this kind of stuff. It was like where I said, well, yeah, that's what I want to do. And I want to do the pivot from what I'm doing right now to what I'm doing then. And if people are thinking about that, I mean, there are a lot of events out there or material where you can read about it and go into looking into legal tech or be it legal operations or like I said legal design or stuff like that. Just getting inspired what you can do still working in the legal industry but not necessarily doing this classical legal work. If you want to change or do something different, there's a lot of possibilities out there.
I like this. So you don't have to be an expert in computers. You don't have to be coding because we don't go straight to that anyway. We're
Yeah,
working more at the level of process.
yeah,
And
yeah,
once you're able to describe that process, like you said, you have a professional who does the coding for you. So
yeah.
it sounds to me like you're coming up with the imagination of what needs to be done, and then you can describe it to somebody else.
Yeah. He's so that's what I have a team for. I'm very lucky to have those people on my team because they can do the heavy lifting. And as you already said, I can kind of come up with uh, this might be a problem. We could solve that. I talk to the stakeholders and stuff like that. I look at what's out there at the legal tech market. I have conversations like we are just having, getting inspired, and then seeing what I can adopt and work on. So that can also be part of the work. And then since we were discussing a lot that obviously sometimes you're having a people problem or a mindset problem. If there are people out there that are saying, I really want to work on that, I want to do change management. Well, obviously, there is a demand for that. So you can help people change the mind of other people, and then they focus on the process or the technical implementation, and you will be the one kind of smoothing it out, asking people, okay, where do your concerns come from, and tell the other guys how can they approach the topic a little better. So a lot of things that you can work on within the legal industry without being a classical lawyer.
Mm. And there's a place for everybody. We
Yeah,
need everybody working on this together. It's
yeah,
too big of a challenge for one person to be doing. There are so many aspects to this. You need the people to come along with you. You need a communications. You need a story. You need somebody to do training of people and people to do feedback and like get surveys and
yeah,
see how was this for you and how can we make it better and give support. So much more than just the technical. But then
true.
even the technical side, if all you have is the technical skills, your technical people would not know what your department's challenges are. So they need a person in the middle who
Yeah,
speaks a little of both languages.
that's true. That's perfectly true.
So I like this. Yeah. And anybody listening to this podcast, like, I'm sure you want to go down this journey and wondering, how do I get started? Michael has been a great inspiration that you can do this. It is possible, and it's greatly rewarding. Would you ever go back to being just a legal counsel then?
Nope, never.
All right. Well, do you have any closing remarks? Do you have anything that you would like to promote? I don't know if you have an Instagram or something.
Nah, not really. The only social media I'm on is LinkedIn, and I'm trying to provide value there. I'm trying to post a little about the topics that we are doing, just to give some of this what we were talking about, inspiration to others, showing possibilities. A lot of times, that's the starting point of those conversations that I'm leading with others, and I've been a benefit from that, and others can benefit from that. That's one thing that I find also so enjoyable in the legal operations industry. When I was a legal counsel, I was not really having those conversations with colleagues. Maybe it was because of me, but I think it was because of the industry that you're in. In the legal operations bubble that I'm in right now, people are much more open, and they give information more freely because they know that they will also receive something back. And that's also something that makes it rewarding for me.
Mm, very nice. And since you're open to connecting with people, how can people find you on LinkedIn? I notice your name is a very common name.
Yeah, it's Michael Thompson. So just try to see if you like one of my next posts on LinkedIn, and probably we will be engaging. I will be commenting and liking your posts also, Justin. So if you know
Okay.
Justin, you might also find me as one of the
Okay.
guys who was liking or commenting his posts on LinkedIn.
Okay. All right. And if anybody wants to find me on LinkedIn, I am Justin Turman, Turman. I am a lawyer, a coder, and a linguist currently based in Amsterdam. And then you can look up my connections and find Michael Thompson, Thompson. All right. Well, thank you very much, Michael. It has been a pleasure, and I look forward to being connected with you even further. And I hope that people get a lot of benefit from this and will be inspired and will help us make this automation world even better.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me.
for coming on. Thank you for your time. All right.
Pleasure.